Well, it is finally time to start putting my new computer together. Some of this stuff I've had for almost 7 months. I've been waiting for the Ryzen 9950X3D to be available. I was hoping to buy a new graphics card. I wanted to buy a 5090. If you're into computers, you know what a fiasco that's been. What I have here is I have a Hyte Y70 case. I have a Gigabyte Aorus X870E Pro Ice motherboard. I have a Seasonic GX-1200 power supply. Now this is an ATX 3.0. I have 64 gig of DDR5 memory. This is CL30, 6000 memory. I have a bunch of Lian Li Infinity Mirror fans. Now the Hyte THICC Q60, I don't know if that's going to be enough to cool a 9950 X3D or not. What I did is I bought some additional Hyte fans, and I'm going to set the THICC Q60 up in a push-pull configuration. I have two Samsung 990 Pro 4 terabyte PCIe 4.0 NVMe drives. Now my YouTube channel is not a tech channel. My channel focuses on model railroading and classic car restoration. But I thought it might be interesting for people to see a regular guy build with a 9950 X3D. Now my background, I'm 68 years old. I got my first computer in 1985. I built my first computer in 1995, and I've been building my own computer since then. All right, well, the first thing I want to do is get the bottom fans in the case. Now, these are the Lian Li Infinity Mirror fans. These are 140 millimeter. And the reason for using a reverse blade versus just flipping the fan around is the Infinity Mirror. So even though it's on the bottom and there's a grate on top of the fans, all my fans, other than the THICC Q60 fans, are Lian Li Infinity Mirror fans. So I just want everything to match. All right, I'm just kind of winging it here, but it looks to me like these thumb screws here. Should be able to take this out. All right. Now I know this is the bottom since the thumb screws are here. And I'll leave these screws loose for right now. Now these contacts here, I'm going to want to meet up with these pins on this side. And they'll slot together. All right, so I have the two fans installed. I have the infinity mirrors on this side. Put the filter back in place. this connector sticks out past the edge of this frame and it's making contact with the bottom of the case. So I'm going to have to figure something out here. All right, so what I've come up with is the fans are locked together. So I'm going to put the fans up in place. All right. Now, I'm going to put the frame in place. And then screw the fans to the frame. All right, so I got some paperwork, got some tie wraps, got a power cable. Now that is a power cable. Check that out. I wonder what gauge wire this is. It's got to be at least 12. Probably my cables. That's a fancy bag. One thing I like about this power supply is the cables. Cables are all sleeved. They look really nice. And all right, so got a 1200 watt gold full modular 3.0. All right, so put the power supply in place. Got to go in this way. Got to bring in air from the outside. All right. There are two thumb screws in the back, here and here, that have to be removed before you can get this frame out. All right, I have this trio of 120 millimeter Lian Li Infinity Mirror fans. You see I've had it for a while. The box is all dusty. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4 cables. Three fans, some literature, got the covers for the infinity mirrors on the sides, software instructions, because I have the Lian Li hub here, and I have 3 packages of mounting screws. Okay, so the infinity mirror, I want it pointing down. And then I have to decide where I want my cable to attach. And I want my cables, I think I want my cables to attach on the left side. And these are exhaust fans. But I want to go ahead and connect the cable up. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up this controller here. It's going to take me a few minutes just to figure out exactly what's going on here. All right, so I'm looking for cables that I can connect up the fans I've mounted. This is the first time I've used Lian Li fans, so I just have to figure it out. The two 140mm fans in the bottom of the case have this cable. And I got two cables, one with each fan, and these want to connect to the motherboard. What I need is this cable, because this cable will plug into the controller. So I'm going to pull these bottom fans out again, change this cable for this cable. So now the two fans in the bottom, I have this connector. The three fans in the top, I have this connector. And those will plug into my hub here. All right, I can get a few things done with the motherboard. I can install these two NVMe drives. These are PCIe 4.0s. And I have my DDR5 CL30 6000 memory, 64 megabytes in two 32 megabyte sticks. Going to want to hook myself up to the ground of my house, so I'm going to want to use this when I'm handling the motherboard to make sure I don't have any static issues. Now it's in a static bag now. Okay, let me get it out of the box. All right, I got some stickers. Instruction guide, that'll be useful. It's like a Wi-Fi antenna. All right, some cables. All right, so this is pretty important. Now for my NVMe drives, I'm going to use this socket, which is M2A. Now you see sockets M2B, M2C here. They're connected to this switch, which has lane sharing with the graphics card. So I'm not going to use these. I'm going to come down here and use M2D. Now this is a PCIe 4.0 bus. My NVMe drives are PCIe 4.0. So this is going to work perfectly. I'm going to get full bandwidth. And if I come down here, now here's the reason for choosing a 870E versus an 870. With the E, I get two of the chipset. With just an 870, you don't get a second chipset. So what I want to do here is with this ×4, PCIe ×4. So I'm going to take this Sabrent card, put my WD Black 4 terabyte NVMe drive in here, and then I'm going to plug that into this slot right here. And this is a PCIe 4.0 slot, so I'm going to get full transfer rates here and here and here. Now I believe this is a 5.0, but my NVMe drive is a 4.0, so I'm only going to get 4.0 transfer speeds. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into an outlet. This pin goes to the household ground. So my ground is as good as my household ground is. Now when I'm working on the computer in the case, I will clip this to the case. But since I'm working on the motherboard here by itself, I'll just clip these together and then use the wrist strap. Okay, so this piece of paper tells me where my NVMe sockets are. Here's M2A, here's M2D. So that's where I'm going to install my Samsung 990s. And you probably can't see, but it says M2A right here. And this goes directly to the CPU. And I want M2D. Okay. All right. Now I have 2 sticks of memory. So for 2 modules, I want to use A2 and B2. Is the second slot. A2 is the second slot. B2 is the 4th slot. All right, so this is exciting. Got my CPU. As you can see, it is a 9950 X3D. 7 months ago is when I started accumulating parts for this build, and I've always planned to use this CPU. And I wanted to use a 5090, but that hasn't gone so well. All right, here it is. All right, we have a notch here, and then we have the little tabs here and here. And they're offset, so you can't get it upside down or backwards. It can only go in one way. We got the corner here, points into the upper left. All right. So I have the CPU down, and I have the notches here in these tabs. I saw in Gamers Nexus a guy had gotten it in crooked, so I don't want to do that. That one I had to. The only way I could get this CPU is if I also bought a 4 terabyte drive. I bought it from Newegg because they're the only ones that had any. I can't buy from Micro Center because they don't ship, and we don't have one near here. Best Buy was sold out, B&H was sold out, and the only way I could get one from Newegg is if I bought it in a combo. All right, double, triple check. All right, there it is. It's a thing of beauty. All right, I got the riser taped up out of place here. Have my grounding strap on. I have 9 studs, mounting standoffs. So I want to make sure I can find them all. I'm located. I've removed the heat sinks for the NVMe drives. Okay, so there's 9 studs, I counted them, and there's 9 screws. There's 3, 3, 3. Okay, I want to install my WD Black 4 terabyte drive now, because the riser is going to go over the top of that slot. And I'm going to install the drive in this card. Came with a handy little screwdriver. Alright, I have the WD Black drive on the card, and now I need to apply the thermal pad. And there's a back plate. And I'll put in the 4 screws over here to the side. Alright, so I have 4 terabytes, 4 terabytes, 4 terabytes. Alright, got the motherboard in, all the fans are in, memory's installed on the motherboard. NVMe drives are in. So now, I guess I'll start hooking up cables to the motherboard. So everything's hooked up except for the AIO and the graphics card. But looking at the install, I mean, it looks pretty clean. And I was looking around and said, well, I surely have more things I need to connect, but I don't think I do. I have two SATA cables here. I have the two 2.5-inch SATA drives I'll move over from my old machine. So those two drives, along with the 3 NVMe's in here, I'll have 20 terabytes of storage. Now the other machine, in 4 years of use, I only used 9 terabytes. And I do quite a bit of video work. I have a YouTube channel. So I should have enough storage for a long time. Well, it's about time to install the Hyte THICC Q60. I bought 3 extra fans for it to use this in a push-pull. Rip for thick. All right. Accessory pack. It's the display and the block. And it is thick. And I'm going to add additional fans to it. So it's going to be really thick. I've removed the supplied AMD cooler brackets and I replaced them with standoffs from the Hyte kit. So just to give you an idea what a massive chunk this thing is, the radiator is 52 millimeters deep. The fans are 32 millimeters deep each. So let's see, that's 64 for the fans, 52. It's at 116. Well, you notice I have the hoses up on the top of the radiator. And this setup's a little bit different than most AIOs. There's no pump in the block. The pumps are in the radiator. If you go to Hyte's website, they show the THICC Q60 mounted in this configuration. So that's why I have it mounted that way. Even though it goes against conventional wisdom where you would have the hoses on the bottom. Well, I bought this Cryonaut Extreme several months ago, and I was watching a DeBauer video, and he says, this is the best stuff. It's new, and this is it. So I figure I want to have every advantage to see if I can get that 240 millimeter AIO to cool my 9950 X3D. So I went ahead and got this. All right. Time to apply the thermal paste. Okay, well, it's not real pretty, but it should do. So I'll put the cold plate down in place. Tighten these in a crisscross pattern. All right, I bottomed these out, but they're not, real tight. Well, I am ready for the graphics card. I believe the rest of the computer is built. The final piece in my computer build. I got a Zotac Amp Extreme Infinity 5080. Now my build was originally intended to have a 5090. But you know the story with that. I mean, they're almost unobtainium. And there's some issues with the 5090. They draw 600 watts. Still have the 600 watt 12VH high power connector that melts. And I just didn't want to deal with that. And right now, my existing computer has a 3090 Ti that draws 500 watts. I've never had any problem with the connector, but I thought having a 350 watt GPU might be nice. Right now, all new GPUs are marked up above list price. There's a scarcity in the market, and list price, it doesn't exist. So I ended up paying $200 over list price for this graphics card. I didn't consider a Founders Edition card for my build. Building in the Y70, there's a lot of glass, and so the components are all visible. And I wanted a GPU that was more visually impressive. The Founders Edition 5080 is a 2-slot card, and although the technical achievement is pretty impressive, I actually wanted a 3.5 slot card because it looks more impressive. And I wanted a card that's visually more interesting to look at. Got a power cable. Now I'm going to use the cable that came with my power supply. My power supply is an ATX 3.0. I hope that's not an issue. But it has a 12-volt high power connector cable. I can see the cable here. I think this is for the lighting. I'll attach this to my motherboard. And this is a stand. I don't think I'll need the stand since I'm going to be mounting the GPU vertically. And here it is. One reason, well actually the biggest reason, for choosing the Zotac Infinity is I just like the way it looks. I know it's a middle-of-the-pack performer, but I just think it's really attractive. And the back plate is a full 3 slots, so that should give it some good support. And it's gold and gray. I think that'll look okay in my case. I mean, it's a little bit different than the red, black, and white. Got the infinity mirror on this end. It's a real nice back plate. If this was being horizontally mounted, that'd look really nice. Looks pretty nice. And it's not too big, but it has a lot more presence than the Founders Edition. So I think this is going to fit in my case pretty nicely. Well, this is the butt-clenching moment. Hopefully I did a good job. I just have the power supply plugged in, and the monitor connected. Trying to think if I need anything else hooked up to get it to fire up. So, I don't think there's any use in prolonging the agony. My Hyte screen's upside down. Hopefully I can flip that around in the software. Oh, here we go. Booting to the BIOS. Oh, one thing I need to do is plug in my keyboard. All right, I want to turn on Expo 1. I have my two Samsung drives showing up. I don't have the third NVMe showing up. I got a lot to figure out here. Well, I have Windows 11 installed, so now it's just going to be about setting up the computer and getting everything the way I want it. Well, it's the next day. I ended up having to take the Hyte cold plate and turn it around. So now the graphics are right side up. I couldn't flip the graphics around in the software, so I had to flip the cold plate around. And the hoses are a little bit tight, but I think they'll be all right. Have my drivers loaded. I have my Lian Li software adjusted, so the colors of my RGB fans is how I want it. I downloaded the Firestorm software for the Zotac Infinity 5080 and set the colors on it. I left the performance at default. I have it about probably 90% set up. There's still some adjustments to make to personalize it to how I want it. But it seems to be working well. The CPU temperatures have been pretty good. I've run a few benchmarks, and I didn't get over 80 degrees Celsius, so I think it's going to be all right. It'll be interesting to see what it's like in the summer when the ambient temperature in the room goes up by 10 degrees. You know, taking this video at night, I don't really have any ambient light. Hopefully these images turn out all right. Now the temperature on the screen of the Hyte display is the coolant temperature. It's not the CPU temperature. Well, this is my previous computer. It's been a really good one. It's got a 5950X processor, 3090 Ti GPU, 32 gig of RAM. It's been a great machine. I'm going to take some benchmarks with this, and then we'll compare them to the new machine. I have the 3D Mark suite of benchmarks. I know a lot of guys use games for benchmarking, but I don't really have a lot of games. And the games I have are turn-based, so it probably wouldn't be a good yardstick anyway. And so I have these synthetic benchmarks, and although they may not be perfect, I think it gives a pretty good picture of the performance difference between my old 5950X 3090 Ti machine and my new 9950X3D 5080 machine. Well, I think I wrap up my build video. I'm pretty happy with it. I got a nice bump in performance over my old machine. One nice thing about this platform is there should be one more generation of CPU that'll go into the AM5 socket. As far as GPUs are concerned, I mean, who knows? Maybe next generation there'll be an architecture change and they'll find some performance. It seems like the NVIDIA 50 series, they just bump up the power to get more performance out of it. There's not a big uplift with the 50 series over the 40 series. But thanks for watching. I hope you found the video useful. And good luck with your computer build.